Welcome to USA Climbing's 2025 National Team Trials presented by YETI. We are in Austin, Texas, where the best climbers in the country have come to compete with hopes of making the national team. We're coming to you live from Mesa Rim Climbing Center, so if you're in the area, come and check it out. I'm Megan Martin here, joined by Moy Corbett. Thank you so much for joining me. She is one of the route setters on this Boulder crew here at the competition. Qualifiers were yesterday. They were really hard. And we are about to start, we are about to start the semifinal round, but we're going to go to a quick commercial break, so don't go anywhere.
You don't get a fire in your belly with a boring breakfast. You gotta light that sucker up with the good stuff. Kodiak stuff. Whole grains and a whole lot of protein stuff. Eating hearty sets the table for epic days ahead. Dig in and you'll see. It's wild what you and a real Kodiak breakfast can do. Proud sponsor of USA Climbing.
The power of we is all for one. It's all for you. It's always there for you. It completes your circle. It says you've got a team even when you're out there alone. And with Intermountain Health in your circle, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
For me, motivation comes from the chance to go faster and faster. I find speed pretty addicting.
Out here. We play different. We don't play with whistles or referees. We play with adrenaline and euphoria. We play roughhouse with failure. We don't play games out here.
Welcome back to USA Climbing's 2025 National Team Trials presented by YETI. It is the Boulder semifinals. I'm Megan Martin, joined by Moy Corbett in the booth, and the climbing is already off to a start with our first athletes coming out. Daniel Coleman on the right and Gwyneth Noller on the left. So our first look at these first two boulders for the men and women. 4 boulders in this round, 5 minutes on the clock for each athlete, and semifinal starts kind of slow like this, but then soon we will have climbers on every boulder, so it can get kind of chaotic. So enjoy the calm before the storm. Moy, do you want to talk about these first 2 boulders real quick?
For sure. So this one, it is like a cordo. You're jumping across with volume, and it seems like counterintuitive, but you want to go past that 10 hole, the zone hole. And then you're catching it with your left hand.
Yeah, so really throwing that momentum all the way to the side to kind of catch it. And as Gwyneth keeps attempting this climb right now, looks like she's kind of starting to figure that out, but she definitely needs a little more momentum to get all the way over. And another look here at Daniel Coleman. We can talk about this boulder a bit. I did talk to the chief route setter earlier, and we were talking about how this one is very, very aggressive, this little jump palm move, which when I was talking to J-Ho, he was kind of explaining that it was more of a jump, catch the palm at the same time, and we just saw Daniel kind of trying to press and then go into the roof part, but I don't know, we can talk about this boulder too a little bit.
Yeah, I think that on men's one, you don't want to be timid with it. As Daniel was trying to do, he was kind of trying to like control it a bit more and push up into it, but I think you want to use momentum to get your hips up higher and really push up into that, because the holds aren't very good. So you want to be up in there and be able to press out.
Exactly, and it's interesting because a lot of these athletes also competed in lead, and I think sometimes changing from discipline to discipline, lead, I feel like sometimes you do need to be a little more timid. You don't want to be as aggressive with all of your movements because you only have one shot. But here in the boulder competition, it's all about time, right? So you can try as many times as you want. So the fact that he hasn't really jumped and been more aggressive with that opening move right now, he's kind of getting a little bit of tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And should probably do something different. If he can, right?
Yeah. Especially if you have that much time.
Exactly. He has a lot of time on the clock. And yes, every fall is a 0.1 deduction from your score, but still that's not too much, and that's why bouldering is interesting, because you can be a little more risky.
Yeah.
But
and every attempt, especially if it's kind of hard to read, every attempt, if you trying like new beta, you can learn something different each time.
Yeah.
And hopefully the next attempt makes it better.
Exactly. It's that fine balance, right? It's like you don't want to get tunnel vision, try the same thing, but you also don't want to try something different every single time, right? Because then you can never settle on a beta. But that fine balance, which these athletes, they've been competing a lot, so they have a lot of experience. That being said, this is only the second elite competition that Daniel has been in. He did 2024 Nationals where he placed 31st. So this is his first semifinal, so new territory for him. Also for Gwyneth Noller, this is her first semifinal in a elite national competition. She was the 2024 youth national champion, but youth to elite is a big jump. So both these athletes trying to gain that experience with their first time in the semifinal right now. There we go. He tried to jump a little bit more, but still not exactly finding that beta, as Gwyneth is doing a better job trying to get that momentum over. Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny too because, when you're watching the climbing, sometimes it's easy to kind of see something the climber might not see, but good reminder that these athletes have never seen the boulders. When they turn around for their 5 minutes, that's the first time, and they have to quickly figure out what it is they want to do on
make
the boulder.
decisions on the fly.
Exactly. So it is a high pressure situation. Going with some different beta than what is intended, but doesn't mean it's not going to work, but does look really difficult.
Yeah.
What Daniel
Gwyneth
is
is trying women's one, but it seems like she's still not, gaining enough momentum.
Yeah, she really hasn't found that sweet spot of momentum. I almost think a little more like, even like maybe trying to like swing out of the start a little bit to generate a little momentum could help.
Yeah.
We'll have to see, but that'll end both Daniel and Gwyneth's attempts. They'll be on the second boulders later, but right now we have for the men Max Kaplan and for the women Eliza Graybill.
Let's see what Eliza does.
You see Max going quickly for the brush. I feel like not only is it a good idea, even when early in the round, but also just because sometimes it's nice if you can't really tell what a hold is like too, you can use the brush in a way to kind of feel what it might be. That 10 hold that he brushed is super slopey. Yeah, here.
Oh, she's trying something.
Exactly. Nice little swing there to try to generate.
It almost seems like with that method, she has to go up and over. Versus I think if you're gaining momentum with the left foot higher, it's more of just across and not up and across.
Yeah, it's completely lateral.
Yeah.
Which definitely would get you more momentum. That's already a much better attempt, though, for Eliza. So she's definitely kind of feeling it. And that's one of the things I love about those coordination or, like, jumpy gymnastic moves. They're all very learned with your body. So it is nice how you can generally figure that out. Max seeing exactly what he needs to do already, just trying to execute it was a little low, needs to catch it a little higher, but also just establishing on men's number 1 is kind of funky.
Yeah. Yeah, the start handhold is not particularly good. And then you have these 2 hard smear volumes, and you're kind of pressed in a dihedral. Like, even for him, he's like one arm.
Yeah.
And then just briefly touches the start hold.
And they're like really locked into that drop knee too,
Yeah.
which cause it's kind of like aggressive right off the ground.
Yeah, and then in that like locked in position, you then have to like gain, or you have to like jump out of it.
Yep. See if Eliza can figure this out. Oh, she's so much closer.
Wow.
It's interesting too. It looks like she's kind of trying to catch on the left side of the volume with her foot, when it seems like she really should try to be aiming more for the middle or farther right, just to continue that momentum.
Yeah, and the white hold is not particular. It's not like, it doesn't have a like a bite to it or anything. It's quite slopey, and so even if you are gaining that foot, it's not as if you can like pull yourself over.
Yeah, you
want
gotta
your
catch
hips
it.
over.
Yeah, it's all about catching. It's kind of one of those things where they'd be better off just throwing their body, forgetting about the hold, right?
Yeah.
And then just grabbing it at the last second to catch it, because
Exactly.
it's not really a hold you can use to make your movement over.
Yeah. But, you know, with all this said, it's not as if it's not possible to do it other ways as well. Because as we know, as we know, and you saw there, she's like, she looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And there's so many different types of climbers and styles of climbing, and people express themselves differently on the wall. And so, sure, there's like one method that maybe is the easiest for most people, but it's not as if that is easiest for every competitor.
Exactly. There's always different ways to do it. It's just there's like a general, with the root setting, right? There's a general way that a larger percentage of people will probably do, but there's always going to be an outlier that finds a different way. And is the different way easier or harder? Yes and no. Sometimes it varies, right? And it doesn't really matter, but it's more about just having that like plan that most people will probably fall into.
Eliza seems quite comfortable getting momentum out of that leg and throwing it over, versus previous competitor Gwyneth was like jumping more from both of the volumes.
I totally agree. Max Kaplan getting back on. Oh, finally able to stick it, but has to get his feet on still. Oh, man, that is a rugged first move. It's hard, too, because I've noticed, too, Max has been taking time to rest, as he should, but it is sometimes hard as an athlete to rest long enough for an opening move like that, where it's so difficult and zapping your energy that way, but it's also still the first move. So part of you is like, oh, should I get back on? Should I rest? Should I get back on? And
he has so much more climbing to do.
Exactly. And honestly, right now, I feel like for him, getting just to that number 10 would be a really good plan. So kind of counting that clock down to at least 25 seconds would be a really good move to hopefully harness enough energy to complete that first move and get some points, because right now he has no points for this boulder. As the same is to be said for Eliza. All about getting just to that 10 for both athletes, but looks like there isn't going to be enough time, so we still haven't seen any points on the board yet for those first 2 boulders, and now we will be moving on to the next 2 athletes, and those first 2 athletes that came out will be moving to boulders number 2 for the men and the women. So joining us for the first time on boulder 1 for the women, we have Kestrel Pikevich, and for the men, Cosmo Rothfork. This is Kestrel's first time in a semifinal for boulder. She was in the semifinal for lead a couple days ago at this event, and then at 2024 Nationals as well. And then Cosmo, we got to see him in the final at Nationals in 2024, where he placed 5th. So qualifying into this semifinal a little lower than I would have expected. But the boulders yesterday were really difficult, and, you know, it doesn't matter how you qualify as long as you qualify to that next round. So I'm sure he'll be looking to try to find his way into that top 8. We are taking 8 to the final now. New quota rules, so 24 people in the semifinal. Previously it was 20, but we are moving to 24. and 8 for the final. This is all in line with what the IFSC will be doing, so we want to prepare these athletes for the same kind of experiences they will see if they can make it onto that national team and get to compete in the World Cup circuit this year. I personally really think women's number 2 looks very fun. When I was going through it with the chief route setter earlier, J-Ho, I was like, ooh, I want to climb this one. Look at Kestrel trying to find a static way. That would be interesting. Yeah, that opening move on women's number 2, we see Gwyneth on right now. She just fell off, but you kind of have that toe hook underneath. And then J-Ho was saying that you want to kind of throw a heel hook before going to the pinch if you can. But I will say when I looked at it, my first instinct was not to do that and try to kind of campus like she's doing.
Yeah.
But when you take a second look, you're like, oh, that pinch is actually really bad. So maybe she'll figure out that she does want to get her heel on prior.
Yeah.
Because, that pinch is a lot worse than it looks.
You can definitely campus it, but it's just a bit more of a shoulder blaster.
Now, the way she was doing it, you want your heel up on the other side.
Yeah.
So she's got the right idea.
Yeah.
But
I think having a heel on the other side when you make the first move takes off a little bit, and it kind of keeps that, keeps you on the wall. I think when if you're going to go with your right hand, you have your left heel on, and it's just a little bit to keep you in the wall.
Exactly.
That hold is not, the start holds and the first hold is not, they're not very good.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of bite on them. And so even if you do campus, it's like quite slopey, and so having your foot on takes a little bit off.
Yeah, it just kind of locks you into the wall a little bit better. You can get a little more purchase.
Yeah.
And we can't see from this camera angle, but the hold she's going to next would be blocked as well. So you're going to want to be like really tight into the wall if she can get up there.
It's blocked and it's a bit of a side pull. So you need some point of tension on to be able to push up into it versus like campusing it probably.
It's definitely not easy. Just had a quick look at Daniel Coleman on men's number 2, trying to figure out those opening moves. Kestrel Pikevich finally figuring out that more dynamic method, getting a little closer now. She was pretty committed to that static version for a second, and it's funny because it's hard when you're in a position where you can touch a hold, but you can't actually use it and get yourself onto it. So it's easy to get sucked into that beta sometimes because
kind of gives you a false sense of hope.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, if I can touch it, I can hold it.
Exactly. But then it's like, wait, I can't. So it looks like she's figured out a better method. We are down to just under a minute. That opening move for the men on number 2, super aggressive on the shoulders. First 2 boulders for the men, very, very powerful at the start. Now, with having 8 boulders on the wall, we're really having to maximize the space. So I think it does make sense why these opening moves are a bit difficult, just to make sure we can challenge the athletes with the use of the surface area of the wall. I'm sure that was something you guys thought about.
Yeah, since we didn't necessarily have, in qualifiers, we had a lot more sideways space, and so we can make the boulders travel a lot more. But because we're kind of restricted on the lane space in semis, we have to, shorter problems, more powerful, or more out of them, a bit harder from the start.
And it honestly works well with how semifinals historically is that more difficult round of the competition, because we're trying to cut 24 competitors down to 8, so it is important to have that difficulty. And it's something that the athletes have come to expect. I don't think anyone goes into a semifinal thinking that they're going to have any easy boulders. I feel like this is the round where...
Especially at team trials.
100%, right? And it's also the round where, when you're not topping and you're just getting zones, I feel like people aren't as freaked out about it when that happens in this round because it's very normal. Whereas yesterday, I think it was happening to people and they were probably terrified when they got off the mats, but then they found that the results were that it was a low topping round for both the men and the women.
Yeah, it was quite difficult for all the competitors. I think that we wanted to push it. We wanted to see I think we wanted, for one, the competitors to be okay with maybe making it into semis and having only like one top and a lot of close, almost tops. And I think as a competitor, when you're out there and you're so close to topping something and you don't, it's kind of testing mental resilience.
Oh, 100%.
Right? You're like, oh, can you keep it together or are you going to unravel? And I think that's a very good skill or a skill you have to work on as a competitor. And I think especially at team trials, we want it to be harder because if they're going to be competing outside of the U.S. and like the international stage, it's not going to get any easier. And when things don't go your way and maybe you don't get zoned, like, will you still be able to fight through it and give it your best?
That's so well said, and I think you all did a great job executing that, and hopefully it prepares them well. We are having our first looks at those next competitors. Adrian Akiko Clark on the far left for women's number 1 and Quinn Francia on men's number 1. Adrian, the champion from the lead competition a couple days ago, already on that lead national team, looking to get on the Boulder one. I was talking to her earlier today too. Qualified a little lower than we would expect to see her. She definitely mentioned that it was a rough round for her yesterday, but she's looking to start over in this round because as all the athletes are at a clean slate now, their previous performance will only matter if there are ties, but for the most part, start over here. Whatever happens today is how you get into the final. So I did notice on her first attempt earlier, she tried that static method, sort of. It was a very route climber way of trying the first boulder where she was kind of testing if she could get over statically without coming off the wall, then realizing, no, I really need to jump. So on that first attempt, able to kind of test both options without falling, which is not just something that a lead climber would maybe do, but also just a very seasoned competitor trying to maximize attempts and making sure every attempt counts and not kind of throwing attempts away, even though you do just lose that 0.1 deduction. It's still important to be as efficient as you can on your first attempts to give yourself the best chance of making it into the final. And she definitely has looked like she's getting closer and closer on this dynamic opening jump move, closer than we've seen for sure, and not a surprise as she's so experienced.
She's getting over there, but her hips kind of fall out at the last minute. She tries to like reel it in, but I think you want a bit more jump to get your hips further. And it's when you're trying it,
yeah. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
First points on the board. That's exciting. Yeah, I think what you were saying is so true. I think because she decided to catch with 2 hands, she was able to make it happen. But if she had caught it with just the one, she really would have still needed to be over much farther. But this kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, where like that's the plan, that's the idea, but there is always that room for the climber to articulate it in a way that they feel most comfortable and suits their climbing style, which is exactly what Adrian just did.
Yeah, maybe she doesn't necessarily feel super comfortable going only 1 foot on and 1 hand. And so maybe her style is to go both hands.
Exactly. Definitely going to want to maximize everything here for this attempt. Really nice attempt there. Only 45 seconds, probably has time for a couple more tries if she needs it. 1 would be better. Ooh, Max Kaplan on the far right, getting back up into that shoulder. We've seen him here a couple times. You just lose your feet there. It's so hard to get them back on. Adrian back where we just saw her. I do like how we have this really explosive first move, and then you really have to slow it down and get into that more slabby technical climbing here.
Trusting your feet, hard smear.
And even, I think earlier too, she like gets into the palm, she moves that hand over a little and having to press against that hold. I really like how you have to continue to use that hold in a different way. But we are gonna go to a quick commercial break and then we'll be back with all of the action.
don't get a fire in your belly with a boring breakfast. You gotta light that sucker up with the good stuff. Kodiak stuff. Whole grains and a whole lot of protein stuff. Eating hearty sets the table for epic days ahead. Dig in and you'll see. It's wild what you and a real Kodiak breakfast can do. Proud sponsor of USA Climbing.
The power of we is all for one. It's all for you. It's always there for you. It completes your circle. It says you've got a team even when you're out there alone. And with Intermountain Health in your circle, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
For me, motivation comes from the chance to go faster and faster. I find speed pretty addicting.
Out here. We play different. We don't play with whistles or referees. We play with adrenaline and euphoria. We play a rough house with failure. We don't play games out here.
Welcome back to USA's Climbing's 2025 National Team Trials presented by YETI. We are in the throes of the Boulder semifinal. I'm Megan Martin, joined by Moy Corbett, one of the route setters of the Boulder discipline, and we are back with the action. Two new faces onto the field of play. On the left, it's Nina Schroeder, and on the right, Nicholas Lindner. Say that 5 times fast. While we were away, we did get some points on the board for Cosmo Rothfork on men's number 2. He got through to that 10-point zone, and he actually ended up coming off right before the finish, so we'll see if he can get back up there, as Nina Schroeder was just on the wall trying to figure out this opening jump. We've seen it done once by Adrian Akiko Clark earlier, but no tops yet in this round at all. So another difficult round, and here's a look at women's number 3, Gwyneth Noller, having her attempts on it, and to her right is your first look at men's number 3 with Daniel Coleman. This men's boulder here is kind of nice. It's a little coordination move, but not as aggressively coordination-centric like the previous boulders we've kind of seen. It's kind of more subtle, and then some real, like, awkward, fingery climbing.
Yeah.
Which I was saying earlier, I feel like Adam Shahar will like this. Because not the biggest fan of coordination, but it's like minimal enough. Ooh, really nice there. Gwyneth able to catch that undercling as we see Cosmo Rothfork on this upper part of men's number 2 again. Let's see if he can figure out how to get himself into the finish. Wow, looks like at the very far left of your screen, looks like he tried to just jump without getting into that right hand on the Waco. Daniel Coleman's going to take one last try here, but not able to figure that out.
Seemed like he got much closer. Oh, he's going again.
Another try. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
You really want to catch that other hold undercling, the pink hold to the right, but didn't quite figure that out, as our next group of athletes will be coming out. So for the men, we will be seeing for the first time, it's going to be Joshua Gerhardt on the right and Paloma Slowick on the left. Just taking a moment to look at the boulders. Again, these athletes have not seen the boulders at all. Unlike in lead, they get those previews, but for the boulder discipline, you're coming out, looking at them, and in your 5 minutes, needing to figure them out all on your own. And as few tries as possible is the goal. Okay, so I have a lot to say about that. I really like how she just approach that first move. Paloma is one of the taller athletes in this competition and really making use of her own dimensions and knowing what she can do with her climbing and committing to that versus doing exactly what the route setting might have asked for. I feel like it's cool when you see athletes really trust their own intuition and their body dimensions, because everybody's different, right? And there are certain boulders where it might be in your best interest to climb to your dimensions versus what might be more obvious.
Yeah, I wonder how the getting out of that would feel. Because you still have to, your hips, sure you can kind of split between the two volumes, but then you have to still get your hips over. And you don't necessarily have a pull hand or anything. So maybe it's a bit more, oh, nice, we got a top.
So Max Kaplan with a top of men's number 3, first top of the competition. So that'll be huge for him and done quickly, just within 3.5 minutes. So really great climbing there from Max Kaplan. I like what you were saying about what Paloma was doing on number 1. Yeah. I agree. Now, again, I feel like she might feel like there's a way she can do it just within her wheelhouse of climbing, but she is 5'7.5" with a +3.5 wingspan, so definitely a lot more lanky than maybe some of the other athletes that we've seen so far on the floor.
Still cool if she can figure it out, though.
100%. And we have Eliza Graybill on women's number 3 now into that 10, so she'll get points there. At this point, getting any points on the board is really huge because we have not seen many people get points, so cool to see a later part of that boulder as we see Paloma trying to figure out her way through. She did figure out a way to kind of get a little more over, but I think prematurely on that jump, I think she needs to kind of reassess her stance before she gets into the jump there.
Seems like because her feet are split, she pushes, but she can't slow down, so she just continues going.
Yeah.
But then I don't know if it's like the momentum is not in the right direction. She's just
I was going to say it's going more like horizontal, and she's going to need to go up at the very end. So yeah, she'll have to figure that out. But she still has plenty of time. Adrian Akiko Clark getting back up on women's number 2. Oop, just a little bit of a dry fire there. As Joshua Gerhardt, I had to make sure it was Josh. We will see his brother Luke later. Definitely don't want to make that mistake. Back up to where we saw him before. The only athlete we've seen get here at this point into that really slippery hold. Those holds are so crazy to grab.
The clear no-tex ones? Yes, they are.
Because it's like you need to be able to engage but also not over grip because they're so slippery, so it's such a fine balance.
Yeah. We had them in for the women's qualifier. Actually, we had them for both, but in the women's qualifier, it was like you paddle, and that was the first paddle hold. And it was really cool to see the competitors very quickly pick up, oh, okay, this is what I have to do with it. And they just very briefly are on it and then continuing off it.
Just learning that it's not useful to be on it for too long. It looks like Adrian's trying to figure out a way around kind of what was intended going out right, just because that pinch is so bad, which could work. You never know. As Joshua Gerhardt gets back up on men's number 2. Eliza's been kind of having a hard time getting to this Gaston move. It's a pretty big move. You do have a pretty good hold, but you see her hips are just a little too far right to get into that Gaston.
I think the toe hook helps a lot to help you get over there.
I wonder if she hasn't seen it.
Or, the catch hold with the stomp.
Oh, that
she
one.
She was getting her toe into it, but I think you need to continue pulling over it.
And she's not pulling all the way over.
Yeah. And I think you can go dynamic, but maybe I think it would have benefited her to go a bit slower and then pop at the last second.
Yeah.
Because she was blasting to it, but her shoulders are still
so far away. Yeah, just not close enough. And with that, we have our next 2 new faces to the semifinal round. For the men on the right, you have Isaac Leff really getting into that brushing right away, as is Yalia Southern on the left. For the women, always a good idea to brush because you can kind of multitask. You can check out the boulder and make sure the holds are as fresh as you want them at the same time.
You can
so that
also
you-
see everything too.
Exactly. So then you're managing your clock really well. Our first look at women's number 4. So this will be Gwyneth Knoller's last climb of the competition as Cosmo Rothfork on the right, way up on men's number 3, getting a top there really quickly. So that's the second top we've seen so far of men's number 3, looking like it should be the one that if you're going to get something done, you better get that one done. Daniel Coleman on his last competition, last boulder of the round of competition. Nice and slow. Nicholas Lindner working his way up on men's number 2. Getting a little bit lost with the feet, but able to figure it out. Really nice. Have not seen this boulder done. We saw Cosmo Rothfork up here earlier, but wasn't able to make it happen. Have to do this match and then get over to that Waco, and it's just really difficult. I kind of like the final boulders for both the men and the women are kind of slower after all of the
Much more
really
fast-paced, shouldery.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Granted, I think this is still shouldery in a different way, but at least it slows it down a little bit. Now, the headsetter, J-Ho, did refer to this as a power slab for the men, so a little grovelly in some movements, whereas the women's boulder, I feel like, is a little less aggressive, but very balancy and footwork, body and position intensive. And a lot of precision. If you see that foothold that Gwyneth's on right now, the next one she has to go to has the tiniest bit of texture that you got to aim for. The rest of it is super slippery, so one of those really unforgiving dual text holds to stand on. We've seen a lot of the women. We have Nina Schroeder on women's number 2 try to kind of inch their way up the left side of that hold, but it's not exactly what you all intended, and kind of tricky.
I think with the hold going in that direction, for the most part, you're like, oh yeah, I should put my foot lower and then I should move off of the higher part. So it's not as maybe intuitive, but I think because the hold you're going to is in the opposite direction, it's the direction you want to go into.
Yeah. Gwyneth trying to eye up that really precise foot placement I was talking about as Kestrel Pikevich gets right into that undercling, using this toe here, like Moy was talking about earlier, to propel herself over into that Gaston. And now there will be another toe hook around the corner that she can get into, as Yalea Southern, we just saw a glimpse of on women's number 1, was working her way into the standing part. Oh, and Kestrel just misses that finish hold. Hopefully she has time for another attempt. Nicholas Lindner back up on men's number 2. I like how it's not that easy to get your foot over to this hold. It's pretty hard. Nice. Into that rose.
Yeah. Wrapping out of it seems quite difficult.
I was going to say that boulder is a little, it's just like hard the whole way through. Like,
it's not very forgiving at any point.
No break. Really nice try hard there by Daniel Coleman.
Ooh,
and
Gwyneth is over.
I was going to say she is in that really precise foot placement, and we see Yalea on women's number 1 in a really good spot to hopefully set up for this finishing move. Oh, so close. Really good route reading there. Isaac Leff just flying through, trying to use the rest of his time to get some points on the board. And we'll be moving on to those next group of athletes, and that will be the end for Gwyneth Knoller and Daniel Coleman. So our first 2 competitors have now completed their 4 boulders, completed their attempts at full 4 boulders. So we are working our way through. Everyone's climbing on every boulder. Chaotic time. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back with all the action soon.
You don't get a fire in your belly with a boring breakfast. You gotta light that sucker up with the good stuff. Kodiak stuff. Whole grains and a whole lot of protein stuff. Eating hearty sets the table for epic days ahead. Dig in and you'll see. It's wild what you and a real Kodiak breakfast can do. Proud sponsor of USA Climbing.
The power of we is all for one. It's all for you. It's always there for you. It completes your circle. It says you've got a team even when you're out there alone. And with Intermountain Health in your circle, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
For me, motivation comes from the chance to go faster and faster. I find speed pretty addicting.
Out here. We play different. We don't play with whistles or referees. We play with adrenaline and euphoria. We play roughhouse with failure. We don't play games out here.
Welcome back to USA Climbing's 2025 National Team Trials, presented by YETI. I'm Megan Martin, joined by Moy Corbett, and we are at the semifinal round of the boulder competition. While we were away, we did get a very exciting top for the women by Miss Adrian Akiko Clark. Here's a quick replay of that. She was on women's number 3. Now, we saw Kestrel Pukevich up here before, but dropped the top, and Adrian was able to secure the top, which was incredible. So now she has a top, and she also has a zone, which is really great. And then here's the other top that we just missed, Quino Francia, a top of men's number 3. We've seen this topped a couple times. It is looking like it's the boulder that the men kind of are going to need to do in order to get a top, but that is all you missed while we were away. And now we have 2 new athletes on the floor. Michaela Patajo on the left, Nathan Monti on the right for the men. Michaela, the speed champion last night, if you were able to catch the feed for that. If you missed it, you can go back to Outside TV and give it a watch. Little fall there, but she's trying to figure out how to get to the latter half of the boulder, where, as we've seen a lot of people struggle with just getting to the 10, as Nathan Monti's trying to figure out how he can get to the 10 on men's number 1. Max Kaplan on her far right on men's number 4. He already has a top in the round, so put himself in a good position. Not a lot of time left on the clock. Eliza Graybill with her last attempts in the round, so both Max and Eliza are now done. with their semifinal, and they have to sit and wait and see if what they did was good enough to get them into the final round. Quick reminder, we are taking 8. Previously, we took 6 into the final, but now we are taking 8 people. This is a new rule change that the IFSC has adopted, so we are going to adopt that as well. And with that, we welcome our next 2 athletes, Ella Fisher on the left for the women and Luke Williams on the right for the men. Ella was in the lead final the other night, ended up in 2nd place with a top of the route. More exciting stuff if you didn't get a chance to see it. Go ahead and go back to Outside Watch and check it out. Seen a lot of the athletes kind of do a similar first attempt on the women's boulder. It's kind of a learned move for the women. Isaac left on men's number 2. We've seen a lot of the men kind of get through this opening section and through the middle, but we have not seen the top on this boulder, with the next moves being, I think they seem to be the more difficult moves on the boulder.
And a bit harder to read too.
Yeah, and
Bottom, you're like, okay, I match this, okay, I'm here, and then I cross over here, maybe I do this, but the top, you're like, huh.
and it seems like what we just saw Isaac do, like it's possible to do it that way when in reality you're supposed to kind of get your foot up and do that rose move. So when he just did, it gets his hand to the red hold, but his feet are below him and he can't get them back up. So
Yeah.
it's you're kind of in that stuck position. Nina Schroeder with her opening attempts on women's number 3. We've seen that jump move completed a few times, and this is the only boulder that has a top for the women so far. If you're looking for a way to track results, you can go to usac.results.info and select the team trials competition and the semifinal round of boulder to keep track of the scores as we are. Kestrel Pekevich getting high up on women's number 4, looking to see if she can get a top. Just dropped the last move on number 3. Oh,
So close.
man. But she still has time to make this happen and looks a little more comfortable on this boulder.
I think in that last position, you kind of get really desperate, and like she did, she kind of lunged for the finish, but has a dual text portion, and I think she hit that and kind of peeled off. I think at the end, I'm sure maybe going fast is an option, but it definitely is a bit safer to go slow there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Trying to find the body position.
Cosmo Rothfork on men's number 4. This will be his final boulder of the round. He did top men's number 3, and you know he's looking to get back into that final. He was in the final at Nationals this past year, so putting himself in a good position so far, but ending this round with a top would be great for him. Let's see if Kestrel Pekevich on the left can figure out a way to get to that finish hold in a little more slow and controlled position.
Oh, we have Nicholas maybe going for finish.
Oh, just missing it now. You know, always hard to go to those holds that are blocked. Got to have the right momentum, but not too much. You don't want to hit the hold in a weird way. And Ella Fisher, oh, getting so close on women's number 1. Looks like Luke Williams might have hit his hand on a hold there. Easy to do when you're doing that dynamic movement. Nina Schroeder trying to get into that undercling jump move. Man, that toe hook on this right side for the men, that's such an aggressive catch.
It is. Yeah, it's a very aggressive slab.
Guess that's why they call it a power slab.
Yeah, I like that it is lower body intensive, but it's also upper body intensive.
Yeah.
You have a lot of directional feet and directional hands too to help you keep the tension to stay on the wall.
And right now, Yalia Southern high up on women's number 2. Have not seen that happen. Really good work from her. Nicholas just missing that finish hold again. Luckily, that boulder doesn't have too much climbing to get there. Fun to see women's number 2 have a little more movement as Isaac left is figuring out that rose move now has to unwind out of it. Oh, it's just asking so much from them. Cosmo
Giving it one more
trying to get through with those last beeps. Not enough time. So that will be the end of the round for Kestrel Pekevich and Cosmo Rothfork. And we will be moving on with our next athletes out on the floor. I'm seeing a lot of smiles. It's funny, we can see them walking back towards the staging area. And it looks like they're having a good time, even if it is hard. I am seeing smiles, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we hope for. Sure, it's hard, and hopefully it brings out the try hard in them, and it makes them want to work for it. It helps create that like feeling of wanting to try harder. And then when they leave, they're like, okay, that's what I need to work on. But ultimately, we want them to have fun too. Yeah. So
I think
lots
they're
of
having
smiles.
fun.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Quickly into that opening jump move. Joshua Gerhardt really reading that well. We have seen this boulder topped by quite a few men at this point, and looks like he will be getting a flash here, unless he took an attempt that I did not see, which is also possible, but I do think that was probably a flash for him. And our next two athletes on the wall, Silver Ray Sanders on the left and Ami Agato on the right for the men. Trying to figure out those opening boulders. So we've got
Michaela on women's 2.
and Nathan Monti on men's 2, really doing a good job working his way through. Just got to figure out how to set up, and again, kind of getting sucked into that other option to get through this part. Again, the rose move was kind of what was more intended, but if he can match here, he could be in a good position to possibly get out of it, but it does seem like it gets you a little stuck. We'll see what he can do.
We have Adrian. Oh,
Yep, Adrian on the left on her last boulder of the round. Already has a top, so in a good spot, but definitely will be looking to get a top here, and already making a lot of good decisions on this boulder in a short amount of time. Likely pretty quick. I think this is her second attempt. Oh, now she did go slower than what we saw, but it's still it's hard to tell, but like you were saying, it is a dual text hold, so there is a slippery part of the hold. So it's kind of hard to not easily lose your balance if you catch one of the parts of the hold that's slippery. So
I think when you're in that position with the press and that dihedral, you're like, oh, it's a press in a dihedral. I should be able to go fast. And I think, especially when we were forerunning it, being in that position, you kind of rush it, but going too quickly is just enough to, like, too much movement, you fall off the wall.
yeah. Yeah, that's always a hard balance, and especially, like you're saying, you're forerunning it and you're feeling that, but then you have 5 minutes in this intense, high-stakes competition where you're trying to make it into the finals so you can hopefully make it on team, and to keep yourself from going too fast can be even more difficult. Michaela Patajo on women's number 2, trying to work her way up into the middle of the boulder. Back to Adrian. And Nathan trying to figure out how he wants to approach this section this time. We'll see if he figures out how to get into that rose move versus getting sucked down into the undercling. On the far left of your screen, you just saw Silver Ray Sanders trying to figure out how she wants to get into that jump. Now, she's an athlete that definitely does things kind of in her own way sometimes, especially as one of the shorter athletes in this competition. She is 4'10" with a +1, so definitely has to get creative a lot of times. And there we go. Similar to how we saw Adrian do it earlier, which is interesting, very different dimensions. Adrian is 5'6" with a even wingspan. See if we can see Silver Ray figure out the end of the boulder. Paloma Slowick getting some points on the board here. Thinking about her climbing, I would think she would like this latter part of the boulder. Good move to readjust with a toe hook instead of it. Oh, but she's going to go back to the heel. Does seem like the toe is a little more helpful there.
Maybe the heel pulls you under too much.
Yeah, but I get that. I would have probably tried to flip to a heel too. I'm not a big fan of a toe hook. Let's see if Adrian can figure out the subtle balance she needs to get 2 hands on this finish hold and some control in order to be awarded the top. Patience.
This hold that her left hand is on, it's not, it comes out of the wall, but it's slopey. Oh,
Very
nice.
Really great patience there in the execution of that top there for Adrian Akiko-Clark. She should be psyched to have 2 tops in this round. No zone on number 2, but number 1, she got the 10-point zone there. So she is the leader by a lot at the moment. Obviously, lots of other athletes to come, but that's a great way to finish her round. And as an athlete who's been in the final a lot of times back when it was 6 people, it'll probably feel nice that they are taking 8. That is a nice adjustment for the Boulder competition. Granted, they did add 4 athletes to the semifinals, so I guess it evens out in its own way a little bit, but it's still, I feel like seeing the number 8 versus 6 probably feels better. And we are on to our next 2 athletes entering the semifinal round. On the right, Nathan Sato. And on the left, we have Morgan Taji. Both athletes seen in a semifinal many a time, so they'll know exactly how they need to approach each boulder, which is try as hard as they can to get through. Yalia Southern already getting points on number 3, had a really good attempts on number 2 for the women. Seen her get higher than anyone else has, and this boulder has been topped before, so we know it's possible. We'll see if she can figure out how to do it. Wow. Good finger strength there. Yeah. Just a little too much momentum to hold without the foot, but I like the style. Luke Williams trying to get those feet back on men's number 2 in a nice position for that rose.
Morgan stuck the jump on women's 1.
Kind of quicker than we've seen a lot of the athletes. And Luke is in a great position. Let's see if he can get into the top here. This would be huge for him.
And for Morgan, too.
I was going to say the way he was eyeing up for the finish, I feel like you need to be so much more aggressive because you really have to catch that hold all the way on the left side. As Isaac left gets a top here for men's number 3. So far, the most top boulder of the round for the men. Yulia nicely into that Gaston again. Looks a little more in control. Just needs to figure out how she wants to get her feet. Oh, interesting. You know, I think that could be possible, but gosh, she would be so spread out if you do stick that. It might be hard to get your feet back up.
This is a bit of a root setter tidbit feeling after, feeling the holds, but that Gaston hold is better than the right one. You could bump, but I think there'd be a lot of momentum coming in. I mean, I guess with the right hand, if you can catch it or that Gaston, it is better, but
maybe not the best method.
No, it's totally possible. Maybe you have insane crimp strength and really good solid shoulders, so it's totally possible, but
who knows?
Yeah.
I really like how Morgan does that jump move. She's very confident and aggressive. Oh, that is the closest we have seen to topping that women's number 1. So hopefully she has enough time to figure that out as Nina Schroeder's trying to figure out how to inch her foot through onto those tiny footholds. And if I remember correctly, those are dual tucks too, the feet on the final boulder. We can take another look when we get back to it. Let's focus on Yulia right now, trying to figure out women's number 3. Yeah, these feet that Nina's on, they're dual tucks, right?
Yeah.
So she's going to have to be even more precise. Dual text, short for dual texture. So there's a slippery side and a friction side, or not side, just like surface on the hold. Usually the feet like that, the friction part is so small, so you have to be so precise. Let's see if Morgan can figure this out. Oh, she is so close. I would love to see this boulder done.
It'll be the first top for that boulder.
Yep. Yeah, kind of for root setters, I mean, is the goal of this round to get a top on every boulder at least, or is it separation?
I think separation more. I mean, I think a top on every boulder is, ooh,
Wow.
hand-foot matching.
See if she can oh, no.
Very close. Wonder if she has enough time to do it again.
Yeah, we don't see a clock right now.
Yeah, I mean, with semis being
Oh,
harder.
there it is. 20-something seconds.
20 seconds. Yeah, semis being harder, I think that we want to push it a little bit more. Or ideally, semis is harder. Sometimes these athletes show up, and they really show up.
And you're like, oh, man.
Yeah. But in the most ideal situation for us, semis is harder. And then I think, yeah,
Nina getting a couple points on the board at the end of her round, but we are going to go to a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with more action for you.
You don't get a fire in your belly with a boring breakfast. You gotta light that sucker up with the good stuff. Kodiak stuff. Whole grains and a whole lot of protein stuff. Eating hearty sets the table for epic days ahead. Dig in and you'll see. It's wild what you and a real Kodiak breakfast can do. Proud sponsor of USA Climbing.
The power of we is all for one. It's all for you. It's always there for you. It completes your circle. It says you've got a team even when you're out there alone. And with Intermountain Health in your circle, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
For me, motivation comes from the chance to go faster and faster. I find speed pretty addicting.
Out here. We play different. We don't play with whistles or referees. We play with adrenaline and euphoria. We play roughhouse with failure. We don't play games out here.
Welcome back to USA Climbing's 2025 National Team Trials presented by YETI. I'm Megan Martin here, joined by Moy Corbett, one of the route setters of the Boulder competition. And we are back from a commercial break. We have our two new athletes. On the left, we have Kelly and on the right, we have Declan Osgood. If you did get a chance to watch the lead competition, Declan was in the final there. And Kelly quickly back up onto women's number one. That jump, we've seen a lot of women now get done a little easier than earlier, but hasn't quite figured out that finishing move as Ami Agato is high up on men's number two, and Michaela Batajo just coming off of women's number three.
It's like her foot kind of slipped there.
Yeah.
She was maybe going for finish.
This opening move for the men on number one is really funky. We've seen some athletes get through it. No one has topped this boulder, but it's really awkward as Kelly is back up, setting up for the finish move. Morgan Taji looked the closest. Now, it's a little easier if you go 2 hands down on that first blue hold and then catch with your right hand. So Kelly just hasn't really figured out that body position yet. So hopefully she has enough time to do so. And Nathan Monty exploding off the top for about the 3rd time, I think, at this point. So hopefully he can figure out a better way to approach that finish move. Joshua Gerhardt trying to figure out how to get into those blue slopers.
It's quite close to finish again.
Man, I honestly think he needs to take a little more time and just like reassess.
After each attempt, yeah.
Looks like we are ending this bit of climbing. There's the beep, so Paloma Slowick and Joshua Gerhardt are now done with their semifinal round. They'll have to wait and see what happens with the scores as we get ready to welcome our next competitors into the competition. On the left, we will have JoJo Chi. And on the right, we have Lucas Gerhardt. So as we say goodbye to his brother, Joshua, Lucas will join the competition.
It's like when when you're like graduating high school, but then your younger sibling comes in for like freshman year.
Exactly. And at the moment, we've got some quick work from Luke, I believe. Yep, that was Luke on men's number 3, the one boulder we've seen topped the most. JoJo Chi trying to make the most out of her first attempt on women's number 1, trying to do that static method first, not working, but quickly into the dynamic method, catching that jump. Could see a top here. Haven't seen one yet in this competition for women's number 1, as Nathan Sato on men's number 2 is really getting into the meat of the boulder.
I love watching JoJo climb because she's a really good climber that makes quick decisions on the wall. And as she's there, and sometimes we set things where maybe it seems a certain way, but then when you're climbing it, your body wants to tell you otherwise. And during that time, you need to be able to make decisions that maybe would be different than what you had expected on the ground. And I think I really like watching JoJo climb because she's so good at making those quick decisions.
Yeah, she pivots very well,
Pivots,
right?
that's a good word.
Pivot. Any Friends fans out there?
Oh yeah, when they're moving the couch.
Yeah.
I don't watch Friends, but for some reason I know that scene.
I mean, it's classic. Yeah. And Luke Williams back up on men's number 3. He got really close on number 2, so you can tell he really wants a top, and this is a boulder that has been done a few times, so hopefully he can figure it out. Yalia Southern getting to that funky, slow ending part of this boulder for women's number 4, only been topped so far by Adriana Kiko. Clark, as JoJo Chi sets up for this finishing move again. Another one of the smaller athletes in the competition, 5'1", with a +3.5 wingspan, which, wow, that's nice. If you're going to be 5'1", that's a nice wingspan to have. Not that any of us gets to choose how tall or how great our wingspan is, but that's a nice little gift she got there with the wingspan.
Sometimes I swing my arms really aggressively to hopefully my arms become longer.
Oh yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say me too. I hang out on a bar trying to stretch myself. Nathan Sato trying to go left-hand in the finish, definitely a little better to do a big cross move, but not to say it's not possible, but with that right hand being as bad as it is, it might be difficult. As Ella Fisher is getting high up on women's number 3. Would be really nice to get a top here. Now, we did see Aaliyah do this same method and avoid the toe hook, but wasn't able to make it happen, whereas Ella is going to get a top there. Personally, I would have held on and like really stayed there for, not that seconds matter with a top anymore, but that was a quick release of the boulder there. I always like to be a little more certain that everyone sees I controlled it, but
it's the safe
as
side.
long as the judges say it's okay, it's okay. I mean, she clearly was in control, but that's something, especially at a World Cup, you want to just make sure, because, you know, the other teams can be very quick to make appeals. So just as a note, stay there, direct eye contact with the judge if you can get it. Yulia trying to get back up into that little dihedral, little bobble there, as JoJo Chi needs to figure out how to do this last move. No one has topped this boulder yet, so it would be really cool to see it happen. And JoJo was third at Nationals this last year, has the right idea, but hasn't really figured out that she needs to swing the foot yet, but still has 35 seconds on the clock, so she climbs that opening section quickly, so it could happen. See if Nathan can figure out a way to get back up to where he was. Had a little bit of a disappointing lead final the other night. He had a great qualification, great semifinal, and kind of had a little mess up in the lead competition. So I'm sure he's going to want to do as much as he can here to make things happen. Really good attempt there, but unable to make it happen, as Luke Williams also wasn't able to make number 3 happen. It's interesting because number 3 has been topped by quite a few men, but a lot of the men who have topped it maybe didn't exert as much energy on number 2, where we just saw Nathan Monty and Luke Williams both not be able to top 3, but they both got really high on number 2 multiple times, so it seems like maybe they're a little zapped for energy to be able to make that one happen.
We have...
On the left for the women, we welcome Maya Madere into the competition, and Zachary Tan on the right. Zachary was in the final for speed the other night, and gosh, he had so much great energy. And I noticed yesterday in the qualification as well that he was really enjoying his climbing, so he's always a fun one to watch. Really see those emotions on his face when he's enjoying himself. Maya Madere, originally from Austin, Texas, so hopefully she has some fans in the crowd. I actually have eye line to her mom right now, so she's intensely watching her daughter attempt her first couple tries on women's number 1. Michaela Patajo on women's number 4, and Nathan Monty on men's number 4. These will be the final climbs for them in this semifinal round. Michaela just won the speed national team trials competition the other night. It was a really exciting competition. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, you can always go back and check it out on Outside TV. Love streaming with Outside TV, the official partner of USA Climbing. Declan Osgood on men's number 2. I like that he's taking some more time hanging out, because that boulder really just saps your energy so much, especially as it's in the steepest part of the section of the wall. And we've got Ami Agato with a top on men's number 3. Now that's impressive, because he got really high on men's number 2 as well as some of the other athletes that haven't been able to get a top here later on in the round. So really good to add to his score, and great power endurance. Texas athlete out of Grapevine. And right here we have Silver Ray Sanders trying to figure out how she can get to the top of women's number 3. Honestly, that little foot slip, I think, kind of zapped her a little bit, but she has plenty of time to get back up there. Got Kelly on women's number 2 trying to figure out this cryptic boulder. We've only seen Yulia really get anywhere on that boulder. We've seen a lot of the women kind of fall in those first couple moves. Nice look at that run and stand that Nathan Monty had to do. Very subtle power slab. What I like about this boulder is it's one of those ones where you just are kind of uncomfortable the whole time. You kind of feel like you're falling, but you're still moving and kind of grappling a lot. So it's always fun in a competition. Keeps it spicy. Hips a little bit out for Michaela. see if Maya Madera can figure out this jump. Oh, I liked that method. It does kind of add a little bit extra to kind of have to place that foot. I feel like she'd be better off keeping that momentum right and not worried about placing it on that other start hold, but we'll see what she can do. So men's number 2 and women's number 2 definitely in the steepest section of the wall. So the athletes, when they're coming out for this competition, they obviously have never seen the boulders, but when they're coming out, they can kind of see from the start to finish the angle change in the wall, which also plays into strategy sometimes in terms of you kind of know, oh, okay, we're ending with the slab. Like I can really go for things and use a lot of power in the middle section. It's hardest, when I feel like, when you end with an overhang for your 4th boulder.
Especially if you are going to be trying the hardest or your hardest on 1 through 3, because you don't want to you only have those 4 minutes or 5 minutes worth of attempts, so obviously you're going to try your hardest. I mean, but this slab is still quite powerful.
It is, but it is a different muscle group, right? So
course.
It's a little bit.
It's like more hip flexors, maybe.
Yeah. So there's that little change, but so Maya Madera just got points on the board with that jump to the 10-point zone. It's kind of interesting because that's a boulder that I feel like you could easily feel that people might have topped it, even though we clearly have not had a top it. They don't know that. So like getting to the 10 is actually way bigger than you realize because nobody's actually topped it. But I can see how she might be thinking, oh, well, I should have done that boulder.
Yeah.
So hopefully she can get that out of her head. And with that, we welcome our next competitors. On the left, we have Helen Gillette, and on the right, Xander Waller. Both athletes just taking some time to brush the holds and try to figure out what they want to do here. Both Helen and Xander, very seasoned competitors. And we're going to go to a quick commercial break, but then we'll be right back with all the action.
You don't get a fire in your belly with a boring breakfast. You gotta light that sucker up with the good stuff. Kodiak stuff. Whole grains and a whole lot of protein stuff. Eating hearty sets the table for epic days ahead. Dig in and you'll see. It's wild what you and a real Kodiak breakfast can do. Proud sponsor of USA Climbing.
The power of we is all for one. It's all for you. It's always there for you. It completes your circle. It says you've got a team even when you're out there alone. And with Intermountain Health in your circle, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
For me, motivation comes from the chance to go faster and faster. I find speed pretty addicting.
Out here. We play different. We don't play with whistles or referees. We play with adrenaline and euphoria. We play roughhouse with failure. We don't play games out here.
Welcome back to USA Climbing's 2025 National Team Trials presented by YETI. I'm Megan Martin, joined by Moy Corbett. And while you were away, we did get an exciting top of men's number 3. We're going to take a quick replay. But here's the replay. Nathan Sato really fighting hard to get that men's number 3 top. Now, he was really close on number 2, and he's kind of the first athlete in a while who's been really close on number 2 to also get a top on number 3, because we've been thinking that number 2's been zapping their energy kind of aggressively. So really nice for him to get that done there, especially because as the leaderboard shows right now, if you have a top for the men, you are up in that top 8 right now, so that should put him in a good position to possibly make it into the final. We are looking at Ella Fisher on women's number 4 and Luke Williams on men's number 4. These will be their final climbs of the evening. Oh, Helen Gillette just slipping off. She's slipped off a couple times now after doing the jump. And Xander Waller now just figuring out this opening, really powerful move. Both of these athletes, so much experience. Helen is the defending champion of team trials in the Boulder competition, so she'll be looking to get back into that final. Luckily for her, no one has topped that first boulder, so getting the 10 is really all you need, and she was able to get it pretty quickly, so setting herself up nicely. Similarly to the women, that number 3 boulder has been topped. So if you can get a top on number 3, that's going to be really helpful in getting into that top 8. And for everybody, all the zones you can get, getting that 10-point hold should always be your first goal. Have our next 2 athletes out, Ava Kovtunovic and Joe Goodacre for the men on the right, having their first attempts. Got Silver Ray Sanders on the left for women's number 4. Oh, little slip there. Ava setting up again. I can hear Alex Johnson, her coach, in the background cheering for her. Love that. Team Delphi, if you don't know. Oof, all the shoulders there for Zachary Tan. So,
My Sabre's looking so good on women's number 4.
definitely. As Declan Osgood is working his way on men's number 3, see if he can finish it off here. It is a little bit of a funky position to get to that blocked hold. Nice look at how that hold is blocked too. Got Zachary's hand back up into men's number 2. Such a powerful boulder. I was gonna say, with the humidity here in Texas, I do feel like because we've been seeing a lot of slipping here and there, it definitely does affect how the holds are. You and I are both actually originally from Florida, so we know a little bit about humidity and how that affects holds. So it is kind of hard when you're trying to stand on volumes and whatnot. I mean, when you're in a drier climate, it is a lot stickier. So obviously something that everybody's dealing with, but it is something to change kind of how the field of play goes a bit.
Yeah, holds feel just a little bit slicker, and volumes too. And after starting to climb or learning how to climb in Florida and then climbing there for so long, I didn't know
what texture was.
Yeah, I mean, until I went on my first climbing trip, And then I was like, it's too cold to do anything.
Yeah.
And then I touched rock and I was like, oh, this is why you want to climb when it's cold.
Yeah, for sure. Maya Madera on women's number 2. You know, if she can figure out how to get off of this pinch move, I do think that boulder will suit her really well, and she could possibly get a top in there. So we'll see if she can make that happen. Still plenty of time left for all these athletes. I can't see the minute hand on the clock. We got 2 minutes left on the clock for the athletes. So plenty of time for them to figure out what they need to do to be successful on these boulders. Joe Goodacre figuring out that opening dynamic press jump. That's very aggressive. Declan Osgood getting back up to where we saw him moments ago. See if he can figure out how to be as accurate as possible. Oh man, that's about as close as you can get to the finish without actually grabbing it. It's always hard when that happens. Silver Ray Sanders looking really nice on women's number 4. Oh, got a little too stretched out there. See if Maya can figure out. She's in the right position to make this happen, but I think it is just like harder than it seems. But
there we go.
Nice. Yep. Let's see if she can keep it going.
Come on, Maya.
Very nice. We've only seen one other athlete get up here, and that was Yalea Southern. Now this move is going to be really cool into this jug. Nice, beautiful. Oh, just caught it a little low. Got to get really deep in there, and then you're going to swing out kind of barn doory looking at the crowd, which is kind of cool. But a lot of, aggressive swing to hold. But
she looks excited, though. Her body language.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, I might be able to do this.
Yeah, she just needs to make sure she is able to get enough rest, and there's only 25 seconds, so that is the only thing working against her. But I've seen Maya Madera get some buzzer beaters in the past, so we'll see if she can do that today. Declan Osgood back up on men's number 3. Joe Goodacre working his way. Not enough time. Again, another boulder that we haven't seen topped. Of course, these athletes don't know that, but they'll be happy to see it when they get off the mats. They don't have to be too hard on themselves. And with that, we're going to have our next 2 athletes joining us in the competition. Got Quinn Mason on the left for the women and Adam Shahar on the right for the men. Saw Quinn already in this competition in the lead portion. She was 4th after that event. So exciting to see her back in the boulder competition. Already quick off the ground, and we have, I believe that's Luke Gerhardt. Yep, trying to make quick work right here of men's number 3. It's so hard when you can only see the back of their heads. Quickly have to scan the bib number. Nathan Sato on men's number 4. This will be his final boulder problem of the round.
And then we have Morgan on women's 4.
Xander Waller already quickly into the meat of men's number 2, reading it really perfectly. Now, I feel like he should have a good shot if he can get into this last move. I feel like he's good at that big jump cross kind of move, so if he can just get up into this Waco and set up nicely, he should have a good shot of actually making this boulder happen, which we have yet to see, so this could be really exciting. Let's see if Xander Waller can do it. Oh, he's
just a
little
short.
Too shallow there, yeah.
Not that his height is short, but he didn't go and
caught it short, yeah, for sure. Got Luke Gerhardt back. Oh, a little bobble there. Morgan Taji on the left of women's number 4. Slowly creeping along on that volume. Steady and calm and slow is definitely the way to get through that section. Got Quinn Mason on the far left with points on the board now for women's number 1, as Adam Shahar also just stuck that calm dyno move.
And Helen Gillette on women's 2.
I feel like we could maybe see something here from Adam. He's definitely going to like that crimp hold. Ooh, Morgan's getting set up really nicely here. Let's see if she can be patient and make that top happen. As we know, it's all about being patient there. We saw Adriana Kiko top this boulder earlier. Adam Shahar looking like he's going to get a top here, and he's going to make it happen. Now that's a great way to start the round, and Adam was the 2023 national champion, 9th at team trials last year.
He's the first person to top men's
Yep.
1.
And honestly did it pretty quickly, and he was in a final this past year, or almost in the final at one of the World Cups. He was 7th, so super close. So definitely we'll be looking to get back on that team if he can get in some more World Cups this next season. Minute 35 left on the clock for these athletes. See if Helen Gillette on women's number 2 can figure out how to get up there. We've already seen Quinn on the 10 zone, but it's kind of having a hard time getting back as Helen's making this look really easy. Really needs to set up for this jump. Let's see if she can do it. Nice. That's exciting. Now, apparently I heard that Annie Sanders foreran this boulder, and she did on her first attempt kind of drop this top. So this last move is really hard still, and Helen's going to make it happen with our first top of women's number 2. So exciting for Helen. So now we've seen 3 of the 4 boulders top for the women, so just that first boulder being the only one left to get topped by somebody. Xander Waller trying to get back into men's number 2. Gosh, the unwinding right here is so hard. Let's see if he can get enough momentum to get to that finish hold. If he can get it far enough left, he should be able to hold it, but still coming up short there. That's such an aggressive cross. About 15 seconds left. Not ideal to be on a slab climb with 15 seconds, but we'll see if they can make it happen. Lucas Gerhardt taking one last attempt here. Oh, gosh, so close. Unable to make it happen. And we'll be moving on to our next athletes in this boulder semifinal at National Team Trials. Big goal of this competition is to hopefully make it onto that national team. Right now, our next 2 athletes coming out, Zoe Yee on the left and Ethan Freudenheim on the right. For the men, seen both of these athletes in the competition already. Ethan was in the speed final, Zoe was in the lead final. If you didn't get to watch those, go ahead and check it out on Outside TV. We have all the replays from all the competition, well, from all the semi and final rounds of competitions. Zoe setting up for that jump. Good first attempt, definitely one of those learned movements. Zachary Tan. Ooh, that's a different method. Maya Madeira trying to figure out that first jump. Ethan Freudenheim quickly into men's number 2. Good adjustment here, switching the hand he wants to go with. Oh. Just moving a little too quick. Kelly
looking good.
Yeah, she's looking good. And she has so much time, which is really nice. She looks very comfortable on the slab. So Zach made that work. That was pretty cool. I love to see things done a different way. He's super explosive. He was in the speed final, and to be a speed climber, one must be explosive. So no surprise there. Just a little short getting to that.
That was a different method than we've seen the other athletes for that.
And he kind of
finish move.
He kind of played around with the feet there a little bit too, in a very nice and calm manner, which is always what you want to do. If you can. Joe Goodacre on
Nice.
men's number 3? 2.
So we stuck the move on women's 1.
Yep, let's see if she can be patient enough to figure out how to get this finish move done. Still haven't seen a top. Now, this is interesting too, especially because it's the first boulder. The athletes in the staging area might be able to hear the cheers for this boulder, but also you can always tell if someone comes back really quickly from the climb, you can tell that it's been done. And so I think at this point, they might possibly have an idea, at least if you're further in the round, you'll probably have an idea that you know, the first boulder for the women hasn't been topped because everyone's taking their full time on it.
How, you as a seasoned competitor that has made finals multiple times, how do you deal with that? You know, being in ISO and then all of a sudden you see a competitor come in early. How does that make you feel, or how did you deal with that pressure?
I mean, for me, I would try to ignore it personally, but yeah, everybody's different for sure. Maya Madera with one hand on the finish needs two to get a top, and a top here is definitely necessary if you want to stay in the running for finals, so great climbing from her. Yeah, everyone's different. I wasn't a headphone person. Some people are headphone people, and I think that helps.
They block everything out.
But I just would try to stay in my own kind of zone, really. Aside from, I was so weird in the sense that, like, if I was resting on, like, during the round and I saw one of my teammates, like, especially at a World Cup, you know, because we're all Team USA at that point, you know, like, not subtly, just, like, openly cheering for them while I'm resting. Couldn't help myself. But also, after being a coach for so many years, you kind of fall into that. It's hard not to be supportive of other people at the same time. But Joe Goodacre,
I think that's great sportsmanship, though.
it could also be detrimental to your own climbing.
Sure.
But who knows? Who knows?
Maybe.
At this point, it doesn't really matter for me anyway.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I mean, that's the best thing about climbing too, is there is a lot of camaraderie and good sportsmanship, and I think it's really cool to see a lot of the athletes display that as well. And I like to think that us older generation kind of showed them how to do it that way. And hopefully everyone continues that way, because we love to have a sport that is supportive. You know, it's a competition at the end of the day and you're trying to do your best, but if your best doesn't get you into finals and your friend does, like, you want to be right there behind them, cheering them on. Ethan Freudenheim in a good spot here. We saw Adam Shahar make this one happen earlier. Oh, you know, obviously he's in a position where he kind of has to rush, that sounds weird to me right now, has to rush to finish. But if he could have just calmed down for a quick second and readjusted before reaching to the finish, he might have been able to make that happen. But really impressive
he definitely
climbing.
seemed panicking at the end because of the time running out.
Next two athletes out, Annalise Van Hong on the left and Vale Everett on the right. Two very familiar faces. They were both at finals at nationals. Vale is the defending Boulder National champion, both competing this week in lead as well and doing really well. So we'll have to see what they do here. Both of them in finals in lead this week. Oh, I really liked Annalise's first attempt. Really trying to get over.
It seemed like Vale's first attempt, he understood, but he didn't really jump into the position.
It was like a tester.
Yeah.
Quick send there for Xander Waller. No surprise there. Second place at nationals this past year. I'm just double checking. Yes, that is true. It's funny, I was there, I commentated, but it's all a blur. I don't even know what happened yesterday. Adam Shahar making quick work right now of men's number 2. Let's see if he can get enough momentum. Oh, going with that Gaston method. We've seen a lot of the men try it that way, and not to say it's not possible, but seems highly improbable to be able to stick it.
But usually when we've seen the men try to go Gaston, they have their left foot higher.
True.
That's interesting, because the right hand is not as good, and to want to Gaston off of it?
Yeah, maybe he felt something.
Worse than the left hand.
Yeah. Helen making quick work of women's number 3 right now in a,
Oh, she bumped her hand.
Yeah, and she does have a pretty nice wingspan, so I
Yeah.
can see why she would intuitively do that, but it did get her in a kind of weird position for her foot placement, but plenty of time to fix that. And I do think she's been really good with her attempts so far, so she should have enough energy to get back up there with no problem. Quinn Mason on women's number 2. We saw a top earlier on this boulder from Helen Gillette, the only top so far, but Quinn already looking really good and comfortable. These next couple moves kind of being the ones that you need to get through to possibly get at the top, but again, plenty of time to make that happen.
Quinn is one of, so earlier we were talking about athletes keeping their composure when they fall and how they recover from that and still be able to perform on the wall. In qualies, Quinn Mason was one of those athletes where she took a fall from, I think it was qualies 5 for women's, a fall like basically almost at finish. And then she like composed herself and then just finished and topped the problem.
She's very good at that, and
Yeah.
I think it just plays to being such a seasoned competitor, having gone through the entire youth circuit since she was a really little kid and then on the elite scene for a while now. And I agree, like her mindset during competitions I think is really impressive. And I think, you know, we talk about mindset all the time, but it really is the thing that separates the people, like the champions, from just the climbers, because I think that you need to be able to have that switch and stay calm in those really important moments, and that's what gets you onto podiums and onto national teams. So she's really mastered that in a way. See if
Helen's bumping again. Nice.
She does have a lot of finger strength, so I was going to say
Very
I
strong.
could see her being able to cut feet there. It needs 2 hands, and she's going to get a top. So that is 2 tops for Helen Gillette so far. So she is in a great place to possibly be in the final later on. Again, she is the defending team trials champion from last year, so
Yeah.
definitely
I enjoy
capable.
that Helen has always had such a great attitude. I met her a couple years ago at the NACS in Vail, and I was sitting for it, and she, like after the comp, she like came up to me and was like, "Hey, thank you." And I was like, "Oh." She's like, "I had so much fun." And I think as route setters, it's always nice to hear when competitors are psyched and they're happy. And even if they don't perform well, I've had athletes come up and still thank us and be like, "Hey, that was really fun." And I think that's really nice because it doesn't make us feel good when a competitor's crying or when a competitor's like leaves the mat unhappy. But yeah, I've just always appreciated her positive attitude. And it's probably why she performs so well. Because even when she doesn't perform well, she's like, "I had a good time."
Totally, and
Yeah.
I think that's such a good perspective to bring up, because I mean, I always say that route setting is such a thankless job, because like everybody always has something to say about it, and it's like such hard work for you all, and you know, your goal is to, you know, have the competitors have a good time and like be challenged and all of that, but sometimes, you know, when people complain, it might not feel that way. So having people take the time to, you know, thank you all and tell you that they enjoyed the time is amazing. And I think that's great too. And I agree, Helen is super positive in that way. And with that, we have our next 2 athletes coming out, Annika Shoemaker on the left and Brendan Beauchamp on the right. And we will come back to the action after this quick commercial break.
You don't get a fire in your belly with a boring breakfast. You gotta light that sucker up with the good stuff. Kodiak stuff. whole grains, and a whole lot of protein stuff. Eating hearty sets the table for epic days ahead. Dig in and you'll see. It's wild what you and a real Kodiak breakfast can do. Proud sponsor of USA Climbing.
The power of we is all for one. It's all for you. It's always there for you. It completes your circle. It says you've got a team even when you're out there alone. And with Intermountain Health in your circle, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
For me, motivation comes from the chance to go faster and faster. I find speed pretty addicting.
Out here. We play different. We don't play with whistles or referees. We play with adrenaline and euphoria. We play roughhouse with failure. We don't play games out here.
Welcome back to USA Climbing's 2025 National Team Trials presented by YETI. I'm Megan Martin, joined by Moy Corbett, as we are looking at Ava Kuptanovich get so close on women's number 3. Plenty of time left to make that happen, and Joe Goodacre also on men's number 3 getting so close. We've seen more tops now than we had a while ago, but still a pretty low topping round so far. Boulders are definitely hard. People are having to fight. Still seeing some smiles, so that's always good. Zachary Tan on your right and Maya Madeira on the left. These will be their last attempts in the round, both of them on boulder number 4. Trying to find some success. Men's number 4 has yet to be topped, but we have seen women's number 4 topped by Adriana Kiko Clark earlier, so it's definitely a boulder that is possible. All about patience here, though, specifically in this section.
Maya seems a bit hesitant pressing the slab.
Back to Joe Goodacre on men's number 3. Oh, there we go. Let's see if he can get a top.
Nice.
Oh, we'll have to see if that was in time. It was just at the buzzer. I don't know, but the judge will have the final say on that. And we will get back to you on that one. Or also, you can look at the results too, because they are on the app. But I don't know if they will have given that. I couldn't quite tell. But with that, we have our next 2 athletes coming out. On the left, we have Chloe Koskoy, and on the right, Benjamin Hanna. I will refer to him as Ben the rest of the time, but we're going to call him by his full name for his first attempts.
Seems like Chloe is figuring out pretty quickly what she needs to do. We have Vale making work to the 10 hold. Zone hold.
Vale in a really nice position. See if he can figure out that Rose move. It does seem to set them up better. Nicely done. Feel like getting sucked into that undercling is just extra bicep exertion that you maybe don't need. And Ben Hanna on the left of your screen looking really nice on men's number 1.
See how he goes to finish.
You could see him being really good at this. Oh, I was going to say that move, if he can set up nicely for it, I feel like he's good at that kind of big cross. Chloe trying to go with a static method as Adam Shahar sets up for
Seems like
the
Ben
finish.
is-
And a top for Ben Hanna. Great way to start his round. Xander Waller on men's number 4, his final boulder of the round. Just trying to suss out the beta on this power slab that they have been given. As Helen Gillette takes her time to get on women's number 4, Chloe Koskoi starting to figure out exactly what she needs to do on women's number 1. Not that she knows it. Really getting to the 10 is the most important for that boulder, as we haven't seen a top. Now a top would put you in a nice position to continue through the round and not be so stressed, but of course she doesn't know that. See,
I think women's 1 is the only women's problem that hasn't been topped
correct.
at the moment. It's not over yet, so I guess we'll find out.
It's never over until it's over, that's for sure. Until you have your last seconds of climbing. Nice close-up of Xander Waller trying to tiptoe his way through. It's funny to say tiptoe because we all know that, you know, with your heels down on a slab, it makes it a little bit better, but it is kind of like tiptoeing onto the holds a little bit and then pressing into them and dropping those heels when you can.
A delicate foot match.
Yes.
And Spale is back back on the wall. Let's see if he can.
Yeah, he
get the
kind of
top.
slipped out, setting up for the top on his last attempt. But plenty of time still, 1:51 on the clock for these athletes. Ooh, yeah, we got Xander up. Oh, man, a little slip there. We haven't really seen anybody get up there, so it would be really cool to see a top here. And for Xander, it'd be nice to get that top. He does have a top already, but
Another top is very
I
helpful.
mean, who doesn't want another top? Quinn Mason.
Quinn getting to zone.
Yep, trying to get into those next couple moves. Nice little subtle, like almost shin scum on that undercling for her. We've seen a lot of the women try to get the heel there. It must be something about the toe that doesn't feel as comfortable body position-wise. Nice top there for Adam Shahar, no surprise. Good decision-making for him, taking that time in between, knowing he could get that boulder done.
It seemed like she was toe hooking too high. She was kind of missing the hold.
There must be something about that body position that just like is kind of hard to get into or doesn't feel 100% right, because they're all kind of unsure if they want to get into that toe hook position.
I think the toe hook takes a little bit off the hands and allows you to bring your feet up. Because the feet options that you have underneath you are just the volumes, which are pretty slopey. And so, yeah, getting the toe hook is helpful, but it seems like she was trying to set it too high.
Maybe like not releasing off the crimps as much as maybe she needs to get stretched into it, probably because she feels like she doesn't want to release them in any way, just for that security. I'd love to see Xander Waller get back up into that upper section because we haven't really seen anybody do that. Oh, just dropping it there. Oh, Xander too.
Seems tired.
Yeah, I mean, 4 boulders, 4 hard boulders, that's tough. So Xander Waller and Helen Gillette will be done with their rounds. But great climbing from both of them, and we'll have to just watch those scores and see how they turn out. And we'll be moving on to our next couple of athletes. Stepping out for the first time, lots of big cheers. We've got for Texas native Dylan Countryman on the right, also referred to as Bob now and again. Fun little Team Texas nickname. And on your left, you have Kyra Condi getting ready for her attempts at women's number 1, Olympian Kyra Condi from the Tokyo Games. It's exciting to see her there. And Ethan Freudenheim quickly into men's number 3. Dynamic gymnastic movements really suit him well. Definitely loves them. Plenty of time to finish off the end of that boulder. He easily was through the opening moves. So he'll be psyched. He was 8th at Boulder Nationals in 2024. Zoe just kind of testing out how she wants to jump to that first hold. Brendan Beauchamp really making quick work over here.
Ooh, Kyra's making quick work of the jump, too.
Yep,
Women's
I was
one.
going to say, I think I hear Kathy Condi screaming right now. So a good indicator to look to your far left. Brendan just trying to match on that tiny, tiny hold. Both Brendan and Kyra kind of slipping off. Same with Dylan. Zoe just trying to figure out how that. When I was talking to the head route setter, who I've been referring to as J-Ho because that is his nickname, but for everyone else, it's Jeremy Ho, just in case you didn't know. He was talking about this jump being kind of not as intuitive because you want to throw the right foot over. And definitely when I looked at it too, I didn't really see that. So we're seeing a lot of the athletes have having to take a moment to really figure out how they want to approach that jump. Kyra nicely back into the middle section of women's number 1. Haven't seen anyone top this boulder. Would be really cool to see her make it happen. See if she can get enough momentum. Looks like she kind of fell
tried to
over.
stop.
Yeah,
Like it's a
instead of
fast move,
continuing
yeah.
through.
don't
I guess
think
it's
you-
not that obvious. Might take a little bit of trial and error.
I think so. The foot on that volume on women's 1, it's quite good relative to a foot, you know. And so I think when you're there, and if you notice some of the athletes when they're on the white hold and they have their feet on that volumes, they like toss their foot over there and toe into it. Oh,
And a quick top there for Ethan Freudenheim. Really nicely done. Already off to a great start on this round. Go ahead and continue.
oh yeah. So the toe, that foot is, and she might show here, but she kind of like throws her right foot over and like grabs the foothold with her foot. And so it's good enough, and I think that gives you the feeling that you can rock over it. But because that wall angle is not slab and it's slightly overhung, it pushes you out. And so it's a good enough foot to pull you, but you want to get over it quickly and then jump up. Versus, it seems as if maybe Kyra's trying to go
control
slower because the foot is good and it gives that feeling of like being able to pull over it.
Yeah, it's like false information almost, right?
Yeah.
So she needs to like figure out, or really should just kind of try something else at least once and see if she can find that right body position and momentum in
Yeah.
order to make it work.
Yeah, hopefully she's learned from her previous attempts.
Brendan Beauchamp back up on men's number 2, but that looked a little bit
Yeah.
better from Kyra.
Gaining information from her previous attempts.
That is the goal, right? Every time you fall, it's what did you learn? See if Dylan can make this happen here, and a lot of come on Bobs in the crowd. I'm actually surprised he hasn't figured out that move right now. Generally, I feel like his route reading's really good, but he just hasn't found the right body position to come into the 10 yet. Annika Shoemaker, we've seen a few people up here. Let's see if she can get this jump. Oh, you know what? It almost looked like she committed to catching one hand a little too early, like she should have let go with her left hand a little later. Honestly, Annika had a stellar round in the qualification. This is the highest she's qualified into a semifinal round, and hasn't done as many elite competitions, so she's really just getting started in these last couple of years. So cool to see her do that. As we see Dylan Countryman with one
10
hand.
seconds.
Oh no, drops it just at the end. I saw a lot of people in the crowd with the hands on their head. Ugh, rough when that happens. Annika was 45th at Boulder Nationals, so already off to a much better start here at team trials. Really cool to see her have that progression. And we are about to welcome our next 2 athletes onto the stage. On the left, Micaiah Sanders, and on the right, Hugo Hoyer. Both very familiar names to the semifinals competition, and in those they've been in a lot of finals as well, so you know they'll be looking to get back up there if they can. National team trials, the goal is to get onto that national team in order to compete at the World Cups this last season. We've already got the national team for lead. which is Adriana Kiko-Clark, Melina Costanza, Colin Duffy, Natalia Grossman, Jesse Grouper, Sergey Lochno, Declan Osgood, Cruz Padilla, Brooke Rabitou, and Annie Sanders, all on those respective men and women's teams. Vale Everett right here making very quick work of men's number 3. He was the Boulder National Champion in 2024. That is the YETI Boulder National Champion. And on your screen right now, Annalise Van Hong also working her way through, matching that nasty little crimp. Was in the final at YETI Nationals as well. Looking to get back there here at team trials, and she's got a top here. Again, women's number 3, we've seen topped more than any other boulder for the women, so that puts her in a really nice position. See how she keeps going. Chloe Koskoi on women's number 2. Now, if Chloe can get through these first couple moves, I think she will love the rest of this boulder. But as we've seen, a lot of the women kind of have issues figuring out the subtleties of the opening moves. We'll have to see if she can make that happen. But plenty of time, 3 minutes and 18 seconds left on the clock for these athletes. Adam Shahar is having a great round so far. Already looking to get back into the final if he can. I think he's quite high on the leaderboard right now.
Nikaya stuck the jump on women's 1 very nicely.
I was going to say, I'm not surprised. I feel like this boulder actually suits her really well. It'd be really cool if she can unlock the end of it. It's kind of flirting with whether she wants to go static or dynamic right now, but early attempts, so makes a lot of sense trying it out. She has amazing hip flexibility. That was beautiful.
That was
I think
very
she
close.
yeah, I think she definitely is capable of making that one happen.
2:25 seconds.
Yeah, this is a boulder that screams Nikaya, so we'll have to see if she can execute. Adam Shahar just trying to figure out how he wants to get those feet over. We saw Xander Waller get really high on men's number 4. Haven't seen a top on it yet, but he was definitely the closest. Ben Hanna moving quickly through men's number 2. I feel like Ben would like this boulder as well. He's got to get through this rose. Oh, wow. Man. Quinn doing a great job being slow and steady, and back to Nikaya. Let's see if she can be the first woman to top men's number the first woman to top women's number 1. It would be wild if we had a woman top men's number 1, as they're not supposed to be on it. Oh, wow.
Looks like her foot slipped a little bit.
I think she can do it. See if Quinn can just stay super calm here and figure out the rest of women's number 4. She has plenty of time, which is exactly what you want in the position on that boulder specifically. Hugo Hoyer just kind of going to reassess which hand he has. Definitely wants to get that left hand on that 10 zone to progress through the boulder. Let's see. He's been on the wall for a while, honestly. All right. Let's see if Nikaya can make this happen this time. Oh, beautifully done. And with that, every boulder has now been topped for the women's competition. Nikaya Sanders getting a great start to her round with the top of women's number 1. She's definitely trying to get back into that final. 8 women will go to the final. 8 men will go to the final. Nikaya was 4th at nationals last year and 3rd at team trials last year, so definitely capable of getting into the final. See if she can make it happen.
Oh, man.
Quinn is not going to have enough time, but I loved the commitment and how she kept her composure that whole time on that boulder. So with that, both Quinn Mason and Adam Shahar are done with their climbing, and we welcome our next 2 athletes out. And these are our last 2 athletes of the competition. So we have Melina Costanza on the left, Charles Barron on the right. We're going to call him Charlie for the rest of the round. But before they get going, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere.
You don't get a fire in your belly with a boring breakfast. You gotta light that sucker up with the good stuff. Kodiak stuff. Whole grains and a whole lot of protein stuff. Eating hearty sets the table for epic days ahead. Dig in and you'll see. It's wild what you and a real Kodiak breakfast can do. Proud sponsor of USA Climbing.
The power of we is all for one. It's all for you. It's always there for you. It completes your circle. It says you've got a team even when you're out there alone. And with Intermountain Health in your circle, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
For me, motivation comes from the chance to go faster and faster. I find speed pretty addicting.
Out here. We play different. We don't play with whistles or referees. We play with adrenaline and euphoria. We play roughhouse with failure. We don't play games out here.
Welcome back to USA Climbing's 2025 National Team Trials presented by YETI. I'm Megan Martin, joined by Moy Corbett, and we are mostly through the semifinal round of competition as we're watching Brendan Beauchamp attempt to finish men's number 3, the most topped boulder of the round so far for the men. Unable to get a top there, but plenty of time left on the clock as Ethan Freudenheim was just trying to figure out how to get through that power slab. Melina Costanza, your top-ranked female athlete in this competition coming into semifinals. And the second top of the day for that women's number 1. And cool to see her do it in such a different method than Nikaya did earlier when she topped it. So great start to her round as well. Annika Shoemaker making good decisions here on women's number 3. This has also been the most topped boulder for the women so far. So if you can get a top here, that's really sets you up nicely to hopefully end up in that top 8 that'll be going to finals. And if you're just joining us, Moy is one of the route setters that is on this boulder crew of route setters. Jeremy Ho is the head boulder route setter of this competition. Oh man, Dylan Countryman trying as hard as he can to get as much momentum to get to that final hold. Hard round of boulders, but I feel like it's working out nicely. What are your thoughts, especially as a route setter?
Yeah, I think I was a little nervous in the beginning when some of these competitors were getting, like, Adrian is good at slab. But when Adrian Akiko Clark was on women's 4 and she topped, I was like, this early in the round. And it got me a little nervous. But as we always say, there's no reason to fuss until there's a reason to fuss.
Oh, I like that.
No reason to worry. And, you know, as we can see, like some competitors are really good on certain styles. And, yeah, it just happened that she did a great job on it. But I think overall it's like quite difficult, and that's good, but you're still, I mean, we have the most tops on for women's round on women's 3, but it's still a fight to get there.
100%. Yeah, no one's just like walking it so far.
And there's been attempts where like one hand on finish and then can't quite get into it because you have to, it's not a jug, it's a bit of a slopey, and it's the Vezi holds that are like dual text on the back portion of it, so just the front of it where you grab is textured. And so even when you get to it, you have to like stand up into it. Ooh.
I was going to say if Chloe could make that happen, that would have been a flash for her, which would have been really great.
I'm like talking about the ball.
No worries. I still think that she could do this quickly, which would be really good for her score because, you know, I thought she would get farther on number 2. And she just really wasn't able to make that happen.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying about Adrian, too, I mean, Adrian specifically did kind of qualify a little lower than normal, too, so I feel like no need to panic about her sending that slab specifically. But I get what you're saying. Like, it is, even so, it is when things get topped early, no matter who's topping them, even if they, you know, were the defending champion or whatever, it's always hard not to get nervous.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely proved to still be a lower topping round for the most part, and everyone having to fight for everything. And Ben Hanna getting a top here of men's number 3, the one that's been topped the most. So continuing to set himself up to possibly end up in that top 8 later on.
I think looking at results, I feel pretty good. I feel like we've made some pretty good decisions. And the competitors are still having to fight, even for a top, which is nice. On both, so I'm looking, on both the men's
even
and
fighting for
side.
zones, honestly, right? For that 10-point zone.
Yeah.
Vale Everett on men's number 4, trying to figure out how he wants to traverse over as Chloe Koskoe fights to get her foot on to set up nicely for this finish hold. A top here would be really great for her. Another athlete who is often in the final, on the podium at nationals last year in second. Oh man,
she flipped her left hand. I'm not sure if that was.
And Nikaya Sanders setting up right now for that jump. I was gonna say she did a good job, kind of
slowing it down.
Yeah, but then somehow it still was a little too aggressive. But it seems like I think there's 2 minutes, just under 2 minutes left on the clock. The clock is facing us far away, and we just have to like kind of sit up to see it, as long as people aren't blocking it. So a little tricky sometimes. Hugo Hoyer on men's number 2 has yet to see a top. We've seen a lot of men attempt that last move, but that last move is such an aggressive cross move, and you really have to make sure you get enough upward momentum to get deep into the jug. That's really only a jug if you're over enough, but we'll see if he can make it happen. Coming up a little short, just like we've seen a lot of the other men do. So unsure if that's going to happen, but he still has time to attempt nonetheless. And Hugo, another athlete, often in the final, was second at nationals last year in lead and did not make it into the semis, which was a shock at last year's Boulder Nationals. So see if he can, well, he's already improved upon that result, but I know he'll definitely want to be in the final tonight if he can make it. So we'll try to make that happen as Nikaya Sanders sets up right now. Oh, that's it. We couldn't cool. We couldn't see that angle before, so we didn't see that drop knee. That is cool. But again, it is kind of, it looks like it's not letting her get deep enough into the hole. Vale up in the finishing moves now. When I talked to Jeremy Ho earlier, he was saying the heel hook is a little more stable to get into that match position, because you're basically matching sitting on the foot, not really grabbing the hold, right? So having the toe on there kind of keeps him from doing it, but it does require a lot of hip flexibility. So if that was a women's boulder, actually, I feel like the women would enjoy that finish a bit more than the men would, as naturally we love to heel hook a bit more, very high heel hooks. Real big bummer there for Chloe Koskoy, not able to get that boulder done. She's gonna have to step it up on number 4, that's for sure, because I think you're gonna need a top for the women to be in that final, so we'll have to see what happens there for her. Melina Costanza up on women's number 2, already a top from women's number 1, so set up really nicely. And Charlie Barron on men's number 2, just checking it out. Like to take a moment to thank our national sponsors, the North Face, YETI, Intermountain Health, Kodiak, EP, and True Blue for making these events possible. Couldn't do it without them. Melina just coming off those opening moves. Definitely that beginning of women's number 2. So difficult. I also think it's not obvious. Like, it doesn't look that hard, actually, if you look at it, right? But when they're pulling on, they're noticing quickly, like, just the amount of tension and awkwardness and then how bad that first pinch is. I think it's surprising. Kind of like when you're in the gym and you're warming up and you're like, oh, this boulder's not that hard because of the grade. But then you get on the wall and it's harder than it seems, but also you just weren't giving your 110% to something that you thought wasn't as hard. So I think it's a learned opening movement where they realize they need to try a little bit harder and dig a little bit deeper just to get through those opening moves. Kyra Condi quickly into that undercling. Feel like she'll like the end of that boulder. It's going to have Melina Costanza set up for that jump here. Easy. Should be pretty dialed in to make sure she doesn't drop this top. Needs 2 hands, and that's another top for Melina Costanza. 2 for 2 right now. See if she's able to top every boulder in this round. She definitely has in the past. Good track record. Not everybody can say that they've done that.
Yeah, I think the, let's see, separation's looking pretty good so far.
It's always nice,
good.
right?
Yeah. And I don't think anyone, there's been some flashes, but not really anyone flashing all of them at the moment. Even Melina Costanza, on boulder number 2, fell once before.
Yep.
So still making the athletes work a little bit.
So all you can ask for.
Yeah, and I think that as route setters, we really, we owe it to them to give them boulder problems that they can try hard and work, because they've trained so hard to be here. And they've trained so hard, and they fought so hard in qualies, and they made it to semis, and we owe it to them to give them a round that they can continue fighting for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fine balance for sure. You definitely don't want it to be too easy, because then everyone's going to be upset that they didn't get to try, right?
Yeah, but then you don't want it to be too hard where nobody can do anything.
Exactly, and then they just feel shut down. But I do think it's been a really nice balance, and I think props to the crew. And then we've got another top here on women's number 3, Kyra Condi with a top, putting herself in a great position to hopefully make it into that final. Obviously a very seasoned competitor, but it doesn't matter how seasoned you are. It's always stressful coming into these rounds, and getting into finals is always hard. It just doesn't matter. Finals doesn't care about what you've done in the past. You've got to do it the day of.
Finals cares what you can bring to that round.
Exactly. Annika Shoemaker trying to dance her way through. Women's number 4.
Ooh, very nice.
I know. I was going to...
Oh, no.
I saw her do that on a previous attempt, and I really like the gracefulness that she has getting into that. It's such a precise foot placement, too. Really a big testament to her footwork. So Dylan Countryman, been up here a few times. Definitely think he's a little tired, more tired than he thought he would be here, because he's been so close to sending this boulder multiple times, and he's so capable of it. But it's a little zap for energy. 35 seconds left on the clock, so
he
has
took a lot of
time.
attempts on men's too. He probably, I think he was the athlete that got the closest.
Yeah, he did, and that's hard.
Yeah,
right?
going for finish several times.
He could have done with maybe 3 less attempts on that boulder, I think. I think he got so sucked in because he was so close. Let's see if he can finish off here, though, with a send. Ugh, not going to make it happen. And it's wild because obviously Dylan is super seasoned, mainly too from coming from youth, right? Because he is only 18 years old still. But again, I feel like that is a little bit, even though he is so experienced, a little bit of that youthfulness coming out from men's number 2, where he could have done maybe with a few less attempts just to conserve energy. So
how do you know, though, as a competitor, how do you know when you're like, okay, I should walk away?
And
or
that's
like
the thing. I feel like you're always still learning that, and I think you have to practice it, right? Like, you have to practice when you're so close walking away, and it's like, I understand why he kept trying, because he was so close, and it would have been huge for him to send that boulder, but it is that powerful that, like, maybe 2 to 3 less tries on it, because his last attempt on that boulder, I remember, he was nowhere close even to the hold, and he went with 2 hands because he was so exhausted, and that should have been a sign potentially to maybe take 1 or 2 less tries to conserve, but hopefully he can get it back for that slab climb later on.
Yeah, and especially if it's just like you're halfway through the boulders, you have 2 more boulders to go.
Yeah.
So maybe making the smart decision would be to conserve your energy.
But again, right, with adrenaline and so much on the line, making the team being one of them. Granted, for him, he is, he did just miss out actually on the lead team, so I feel like that could be playing in his head a bit more, because he's going to really want to be doing those World Cups. He was on the podium, but the scores are combined from YETI Nationals, so Nikaya Sanders looking to make quick work of women's number 1. Oh, but drops the finish, which we've seen a few times, so it is really hard. And Chloe Koskoi in a really good position right now, which is really needed for her, because she does not have a lot of points on the board, and she is a face that we see in the finals often, so the patience here would be incredible if she can get a top here. Just going to rush it at the last second, but plenty of time for her to make that happen. Hugo with 1 hand, needs 2. Gonna get a top there, really nicely done for Hugo Hoyer. That 3rd boulder really needing to be topped for the men in order to stay in the running to get into the final. I think Nikaya taking some moments here to rest is really smart, especially because she knows she can do that boulder, and she still has another boulder after this, so good decision making. This is tricky too, right? Because women's number 4 is slower climbing and more moves. So you don't want to rest too long. And you also know that, like, you can rest somewhat on the wall, which I think is helpful. So you'll see people get back on, I think, sooner. The other thing is some of those subtle movements sometimes, I think when you're an athlete in the competition, you can sometimes forget exactly what you did. So jumping back on sooner is sometimes better for a boulder like we see Chloe on right now. Just rushing that finish. And Nikaya Sanders back on women's number 3. Woo, good save. That'll take some extra energy, though. She has incredible shoulder flexibility and mobility. I feel like those 2 things are different.
Yeah.
And it's just so crazy what position she's able to get in and, like, move out of. It's not what you generally see. And every now and then I do think it can work to her detriment, because she can get so sunken into the shoulders, but for the most
shoulders are so strong.
I know, it's insane.
She should drop her shoulder routines on her Instagram.
Yeah. For the rest of us to, like, try to learn from, that'd be incredible.
Shoulder injuries are so common with climbers too. If you don't take the time to strengthen them and do your mobility exercises too, it'll catch up real quick.
Yeah, that's so true. 1 minute left on the clock now for these athletes. Ben Hanna on men's number 4 already has some tops under his belt in this competition. Currently in that number 1 spot, so he, barring any appeals, will be in the final later. Of course, he doesn't know that, so he's going to give it his all on this fourth boulder. And as an athlete, just knowing Ben, he will always give it his all. So I'm sure we'll see him climbing till the end of the time as Chloe Costco is trying to figure out her way to get back up onto the upper part of women's number 4. Really having a rough round today for Chloe. It's unfortunate to see that happen, especially as such a talented athlete. But sometimes comps are unforgiving at times, and sometimes that is just how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, she doesn't seem very happy walking away.
So we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the rest of the action.
You don't get a fire in your belly with a boring breakfast. You gotta light that sucker up with the good stuff. Kodiak stuff. Whole grains and a whole lot of protein stuff. Eating hearty sets the table for epic days ahead. Dig in and you'll see. It's wild what you and a real Kodiak breakfast can do. Proud sponsor of USA Climbing.
The power of we is all for one. It's all for you. It's always there for you. It completes your circle. It says you've got a team even when you're out there alone. And with Intermountain Health in your circle, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
For me, motivation comes from the chance to go faster and faster. I find speed pretty addicting.
Out here. We play different. We don't play with whistles or referees. We play with adrenaline and euphoria. We play roughhouse with failure. We don't play games out here.
Welcome back to USA Climbing's 2025 National Team Trials, brought to you by YETI. While we were away, we got to see a nice top here of men's number 3 by Charlie Barron, putting him in a nice position to possibly make it into that top 8 later on. And then Melina Costanza got her 3rd top of the competition. She is currently 3 for 3 and already in the final, barring any appeals, and I don't see how that could really be an issue here for her, but 3 tops so far, and looking to get to that 4th one and get it done. Kyra Condi on the left for the women and Dylan Country on the right for the men. Their final boulder attempts of the round of competition. 1 minute and 15 left for each athlete. Kyra currently sitting in that 6th position. Again, barring any appeals, she looks like she should be safe considering the people below her have already finished climbing. and there will be 8 athletes in the final. Previously, there have been 6 in a Boulder final, but the rule has changed to allow 8 people to be in line with the new IFSC quota so that these athletes can have competitions on the domestic side that are as similar as they're going to see on the international side to give them the best success to get used to all of those rules. It takes me back to when we used to not have a 4-point start here, and then we'd send athletes internationally and they would, lose attempts on boulders because they didn't know how to start them properly. Obviously, we've adopted that 4-point start, many years ago, and I think it has been successful to kind of align those rules just so you're not having to think and switch back and forth between rules for international and domestic competition. That being said, we have Dylan Countryman in a nice position here. We haven't seen a lot of the men get here. He did not do the 3rd boulder for the men. He got close, but didn't make it happen, and unfortunately he's going to drop it here too. I was hoping we would see him get that boulder done. Haven't seen a top on that for the men yet.
Since we were on a commercial break, Charlie had flashed men's 3.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Melina on Costanza had gotten women's 3 on the 3rd attempt, I think it was.
So pretty quick, quicker than a lot of the athletes.
Yeah, pretty quick.
Yeah, I guess with that replay, we didn't know that was a flash. That's exciting. And really good for Charlie in general. Yeah, looking at the results, Dylan Countryman's not going to be making it into the final, so really unfortunate. Another athlete, we've definitely seen a few athletes who have gotten really close to topping and dropped those tops, never gotten a top in the round, and honestly, that's always so hard when that happens because you've done so much climbing and you're only awarded that 10-point zone. And just not having the extra points from the 25 for the top to get into the next round is just really difficult sometimes. Hugo just trying to figure out how much momentum he wants to go to. That's always hard, especially when the boulder is power slabby. I feel like you sometimes need to give more momentum, sometimes less, and it's kind of learned, and it's very hard to be flashing that kind of movement. Not impossible, but definitely difficult. Nikaya Sanders on women's number 4. She was able to top number 1. She got the first top on that boulder, which was really exciting for everybody to see. And then she was also able to top number 2. Or no, she got really close to topping number 2 and close to topping number 3. So she only has 1 top, but she's currently in 4th place, so putting herself in a nice position to possibly make her way into the final. Looks like Hugo was able to figure out that right amount of momentum. Gotta just stay patient. It is, watching the men on this part, it's just kind of awkward getting into this sloper because you have to go with some control but also a little bit of momentum, and I do feel like you can grab it in a couple different places, and we've seen it done a couple different ways, so that only makes it harder to know exactly what you need to do. Right into the heel hook, which is smart. We've seen a lot of the men try to toe in, and it doesn't really set you up nicely to sit on it because this hold
hips over.
Exactly. And this hold is not one you can really grab. It's all about the balance and just the hip flexibility and hip flexor strength, right? In order to, oh, that's a nice close-up there. You can see how grabbing the hold is really not helpful at all. You can see that, I feel like Nikaya was definitely in that little screw hole, which is obviously always okay in competitions. T-nut holes, no. Screw holes, yes. And I feel like as athletes, you go straight to it. If you can use it, you're like, oh, I'm gonna use it. But honestly, on this boulder, it might be better just to find that lower body position before even worrying so much about the hands. What do you think?
Yeah, I was just gonna comment on like the wall angles, and where the finish is, it's a little like just slightly overhung, and I think you want to be further out on the hold just a little bit to be able to find the balance point on that foot. If you're too close to the wall, it's more just like about pulling. And I think Nakai was trying to do that. She was trying to pull in with the with that screw hole. Yeah, I think it's more of just like placement of the feet and the hips. Like, yeah, versus pulling.
Yeah, I think you're right. It seems that way for sure. And it's interesting because like in another competition on another boulder, it could be the complete opposite. So it's like you always try what seems like something you can do and familiar, and looks like she's able to make it work. She still did grab that screw hold, but she did focus more on just kind of balancing into it versus kind of trying to pull it down. So Nikaya Sanders will get her second top of the competition, and that actually propels her up into second place at the moment. So she's in a good spot to be in the final, barring any appeals. We should see her there later, and she'll be really excited to see that when she gets out of the competition zone. Hugo Hoyer back up. Oh, a little bobble there. I'm curious if he's going to try again, and looks like he's not going to.
Yeah, he's 10 seconds.
Again, when the athletes come back with a lot of time left, they kind of get a sense that maybe a boulder hasn't been done, and I'm sure at this point he's probably noticed that, so he knows that perhaps he did enough in order to make it in. I'm going to quickly check those results, and he's currently in fourth place, so he'll be happy to see that, I'm sure, once he's out of the competition zone. And now we've done it. We are down to our final two competitors on the last two boulders. Melina Costanza on your left, Charlie Barron on your right. This will be their last 5 minutes of climbing in the semifinal as they try to get into that final 8 women in the final, 8 men in the final later tonight. The competition stakes are high here. All these athletes trying to get on the national team. Melina Costanza already on the 2025 lead national team, so she'll be able to compete in those World Cups, but you know she wants to be on that Boulder national team as well. And while we have a moment, let's talk about who are on those teams. On the lead national team for the women, Adriana Kiko Clark, Melina Costanza, Natalia Grossman, Brooke Rabatu, and Andy Sanders. And for the men, we have Colin Duffy, Jesse Grouper, Sergey Lochno, Declan Osgood, Cruz Padilla. Those are your men and women for the lead team, as Melina Costanza and Charlie Barron both start their attempts on men and women's number 4. Ooh, really nice
So
toe catch there.
As if, just looking at the scores, Melina Costanza is already going to finals.
Yep, barring any appeals.
Yeah, sure.
That is the only
You're
caveat that we have here in the booth.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how that goes down there.
And as it often goes,
Yeah,
we'll
right.
say something here. We'll be like, oh, yeah, it seems like maybe you could do it that way, but it might be harder. And then they do it that harder way.
Exactly.
Which is totally great. But yeah, it seems as if for Charlie, this top would really help him to,
Yes.
to help him for finals. So a top would be great for him.
100% agree. I think on my list, side note of the lead national team, I'm pretty sure Dylan Countryman is on that team. I think we forgot to put that on our little list here, but I'm pretty sure that is true. And because I'm confused why there's not the same number of men that I listed as women. Just if anyone's checking. Melina Costanza slow and steady through this middle section of the women's number 4 climb. We've seen it topped twice now, once by Adriana Kiko Clark and just moments ago by Nikaya Sanders. Charlie Barron finding those right body positions to keep moving through men's number 4. Yet to see a top here. Seen some hands on the finish hold, but no control. And Melina's trying to set herself up to find a controlled position in order to top. Oh, just rushed it a little bit. Plenty of time, 2 minutes left on the clock for her. As Charlie Barron is moving on to the bigger holds on this boulder. It's nice you go from some tiny holds to some bigger slopers, where you can feel a little more secure for a moment before you have to set up for this awkward finish.
It's actually pretty amazing. I just realized He climbs in glasses. And when
I
you're
know,
on a slab, you're
I
so
know.
close to the wall.
I was going to say, he just took them off for a second.
Oh, okay.
No, but it's
Oh,
just
yeah,
to
he
wipe
did.
the sweat away. I agree. It is impressive. Because you could easily get bumped off, right?
Yeah. Or you like scrape your frame on the wall.
Do you wear, I wonder if he wears like, more beat up glasses for comps, versus
like-
his normal everyday life.
He has like his comp. You have like your comp fit, and he has his comp glasses.
Yeah. I know when Kai Leiner was competing, there was like a few times where glasses broke during competitions because of like crazy falls. And he'd have to have like tape on them and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
I know. That's like a whole nother added element. See if Melina Costanza can get back up. Oh. And I did just get the clarification that Dylan is not on the lead national team. Maybe my counting's off. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is off. My counting was off. I somehow miscounted Sergey. And Melina Costanza is going to get a top. So 4 tops, 4 boulders. Perfect. Nice. I mean, not perfect, not all flashes, but honestly, in a round like this, where every boulder was really hard, I feel like it's even cooler. Because, sometimes when people do 4 tops, it's because they were easy. And she got 4 tops in a very hard round. And that's going to be the end of the semifinal for Boulder. Hey, we got all the women's boulders topped and most of the men's, so that was really exciting. And we will have our 8 finishers soon. I'm being told that the men's results are currently under appeal, so just like we said, there's always the barring of appeals before we know the final results. But I don't know, I thought that was a great round.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think one of my favorite moments was seeing women's number 1 being topped for the first time by Nikaya Sanders. I thought that was really incredible. Yeah. Was that yours too?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I'll pick another one.
Okay.
Let's see. I think seeing Dylan Countryman on men's 2.
So close.
He was just fighting, and he kept getting to the same spot and like giving it his all. Yeah, that's probably. I love that.
Yeah, it would have been so awesome if he could have actually topped it. But yeah, he was so close, and it was really cool. So it sounds like the appeal has been cleared up. So we are going to go to those final scores and see who those top 8 athletes are that are going to be in the final tonight. Remember, we will be back tonight at 6 on Outside TV. So in your top 8 for the men, I'm not sure if we're getting a leaderboard, so we are going to get a leaderboard. So here we go. Top 8 for the men. Drum roll, please. I have to breathe. Our finalists are going to be shown by the women first. So our top 8 go into the final.
Look, we have all the route setters hanging out there.
My leaderboard. Yeah, they should be happy. I feel like that was a great round for everybody. And of course, now we're actually going to get the men first. Where is my leaderboard? Ben Hanna, Adam Shahar, Josh Gerhardt, Hugo Hoyer, Vale Everett, Ethan Freudenheim, Xander Waller, and Isaac Leff will be your top men. And for the women, we have Melina Costanza, Nikaya Sanders, Helen Gillette, Adriana Kiko Clark, Maya Madere, Kyra Condi, Annalise Van Hong, and Ella Fisher. Some familiar faces in the finals, some new finalists to the Boulder finals at an Elite Series competition. So that was an amazing semifinal. We'll be back at 6 o'clock for the final. Moy, thank you so much for joining me. That was so much fun to have your perspective in the booth.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
I did. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Nervous.
Oh,
yeah.
And now you're like, oh, I could do this any day, right?
Yeah. I think when I'm always watching, I'm always like, what would I say? I guess I found out.
Well, I loved having you here, and I can't wait to see everyone back for the final tonight at 6. So please join us again, and thanks for watching.
on the peak, the stage is set. The clock is ticking, no room for regret. Austin's alive with the crowd wound scream. Climbers racing on the edge of a dream. Grip the wall, feel your heartbeat explode. Athletes rising in the ultimate mode. The chalk flies, high determination ignites. Chasing glory under fluorescent lights. Climb the heights, break the bounds, shake the world with relentless sounds. Through the air, through the stone, Austin crowns its very own. Hands stretched forward, feet hold tight. Every moment fuels the fight. You'll rise, you'll soar above it all. Tall walls tremble, challengers call. Power surges, each move precise. With every inch they're rolling dice. Pulses pounding, crowd electrified. Heroes climbing to the wind, they'll collide. Climb the heights, break the bounds, shake the world with relentless sounds. Through the air, through the stone, Austin crowns its very own.
You don't get a fire in your belly with a boring breakfast. You gotta light that sucker up with the good stuff. Kodiak stuff. Whole grains and a whole lot of protein stuff. Eating hearty sets the table for epic days ahead. Dig in and you'll see. It's wild what you and a real Kodiak breakfast can do. Proud sponsor of USA Climbing.
The power of we is all for one. It's all for you. It's always there for you. It completes your circle. It says you've got a team even when you're out there alone. And with Intermountain Health in your circle, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
For me, motivation comes from the chance to go faster and faster. I find speed pretty addicting.
Out here. We play different. We don't play with whistles or referees. We play with adrenaline and euphoria. We play roughhouse with failure. We don't play games out here.